guarantee stability on our continent and in our countries, we have to have development. So we always have to find a balance, because I believe strongly that the countries that are stable today and do not have conflict, if we don't deal with development properly in those countries, make sure that the youth go to school, get skills, get jobs, make sure that the country develops and everybody feels part of the country, and respect for human rights and good governance. If we ignore that part, that side of the coin, then those countries in time will also become unstable. Because if people don't have hope, they don't have a stake in the future of their countries, they'll probably become restless and and the countries will become unstable. So we have to pay attention to peace and security, because obviously you can't even begin to have meaningful development if there is no peace. But at the same time, I just want to stress that both sides of the same coin, peace and security on one side and development, and that balance is very important. And I know you've been supporting development as well, shared values and vision, and the institution, building the institutional capacity. So we thank you for all that. Going forward, we obviously have to keep building on what is there. We think that we need to still pay attention to strengthening the institution itself. So institutional capacity is very important, because if we have a strong institution, we can deliver better our services that we have to deliver. We also can utilize your resources much more prudently. And so efforts have been ongoing to strengthen the institution, and I think we will also continue to pay attention to strengthening the institution, and hopefully we will indeed continue to get your support in that. We also are going to obviously be supporting and strengthening the work of the other commissioners. We feel very strongly on the question of human development. So we'll be supporting a lot of the programs in the social area, social affairs area, health, education, of course, other areas, sports and so on. But we think that health and education are very important for economic development. And I remember when I was Minister of Health, initially the attitude of our Treasury was that health and education are just spending ministries that are like a bottomless hole, and then there are economic ministries that drive the development of the economy. And we used to argue quite strongly that actually there is nothing you can do if you don't have human resources that are skilled, healthy, that can drive the economy. You can have money, you can have brick and mortar. If you don't have human beings, you cannot drive your economy. So health and education cannot be seen just as somehow these bottomless pit ministries that are just consuming money. They are the foundation of development. They are the foundation of economic growth. So it's an area that obviously would like to pay a lot of attention to, but that also includes women, because in that population women are more than half. So we would like to ensure that women are not left out in the development equation. In Africa, we know that, for instance, maternal mortality is still very high, and women in falling pregnant and giving birth, instead of it being a source of joy and a responsibility for the continuation of the human race, it becomes a risk to their lives. And I think we really should work together and other partners in the UN and so on to really try to continue to decrease maternal mortality. But maternal mortality is important in its own, but it's also very important because on our continent, if you don't have a mother and you are an infant and you lose your mother, your prospects of survival are less, but also of reaching your full potential are diminished if you don't have a mother. So the survival of the mother is important for her own sake, but also for the survival of the family, particularly young children that she may already have. We also know that in Africa, women, the majority of people who work in agriculture are women. And I think we need to support them much more than we have done before as a continent, so that they can not only use agriculture for subsistence, but really earn a living, be able to look after their families, educate their children, and contribute both to the GDP but also to food security. And so there is a plan that you've been supporting, CADEP, but a lot of emphasis I would like to put on supporting the women in agriculture. Not saying men shouldn't be supported, but the majority in agriculture on our continent are women, and they need a lot more support. And of course, we also know that if you educate girls, you also improve the general health of the family, but also the infant mortality. The more educated the mother is, the more likely that the infants will survive. So it's got a double benefit in that way. We also feel strongly that the goal of MDG 3, women in leadership and in leadership positions, is important. At all levels, Because if women are part of taking decisions, they will take decisions that will take into account not only their needs, the needs of children, but the needs of communities in general, whether in parliament, the legislation, the budget will begin to reflect a more humane approach. So, but we need women not only in politics, we need them everywhere, in all sectors of society. So we would be also looking at how to help women in various areas to take and be part of decision making in whatever areas they are in. And of course, one of the areas that we think needs much more attention is trade, including intra-African trade, because all countries except us, our biggest trading partners tend to be in our regions, in our neighborhood. But with us, there is no single African country that can claim that its biggest trading partner is another African country. And that says a lot even about how competitive we can be and our own capacities. But there are objective and subjective reasons why it is so. And we need to address both the subjective and the objective reasons. One of the objective reasons is just the infrastructure to move goods from one area to the other. Transport, telecommunication infrastructure, but also what do we trade? We are a continent with a growing economy. We are, compared to other regions, our economies have been growing, but we've been trading, on the whole, we are trading raw materials. So that's another objective reason why we're not able to increase our intra-African trade, because we're trading raw materials. And we need to find a way of working together to make sure that we really are able to add value. We are able to have forward and backward linkages so that we can also industrialize our countries and also be able to trade much more diverse products, because our economies are not very diverse. Now, I'm mentioning these things not that these are the things I will do personally, but the Commission working with member states and the regional economic communities will have to work along this perspective. And so, but also we need to look at how to harmonize some of the regulations that impede trade between and amongst us. And the other area that I think needs a lot of attention is just the coordination, the dynamic relationship between the AU and the RECs, the regional economic communities. And that needs a lot of strengthening. But more than the AU and the RECs amongst themselves are not really having a dynamic relationship. The good things that may be happening in ECOWAS are not known by SADC and vice versa. And if they could have a more dynamic relationship. They can share best practice, they can share ideas, and they can see how to accelerate the integration, because they are the cornerstones and building blocks for our integration.